Without a doubt, the most requested video this week was about the death of the founder of the Church of Lucifer in Ceará, who ended up being killed in a shooting. The article was published on the 28th of 2026 and talks about this man who was the founder of the Church of Lucifer in Ceará. He was attacked when he went to change the tires on his car. On social media, Luciano Melo, 38 years old, who was known as the warlock Paulo Padilha, identified himself as a warlock, satanic bishop and founder of the First Church of Lucifer in the Northeast region. In a post from October 2024, the warlock claimed to be a satanic priest and said he was known as the Devil's Pope. He was a follower of Luciferian Quimbanda, a branch of Quimbanda that combines the worship of entities like Enchus and Pombagiras with elements of Luciferianism. This church was founded in January 2024, according to a post by Paulo himself on social media. On Instagram, the man posted church ceremonies, external events, and invited the public to join the church. After the incident, the mainstream media found that Paulo was caught in the act and arrested on March 15, 2025, meaning the deceased was already a defendant. At the time, police were called to assist a SAMU paramedic who was being threatened. When the officers arrived at the scene, they asked for the volume of the music to be turned down, at which point the owner of the establishment, in this case Paulo, started insulting the victims, two women and the police officers themselves. Paulo also allegedly offered money to the officers, that is, attempted bribery, in order not to be arrested. The man ended up being investigated on suspicion of committing the crimes of making threats, disrespecting police officers, bribery, and homophobic behavior toward two women. At the custody hearing on March 16, 2025, Judge Henrique Portello Ronchi ordered Paulo's release upon payment of bail and compliance with precautionary measures for 6 months. The information is included in the decision obtained by UOL's own reporting team and what happened to him that ended up taking his life. Now, in 2026, the crime took place in front of a mechanic shop. Initial reports from Television Verdes Mares, the television global affiliate that airs Bom Dia CE, indicates that Paulo and another man whose name was not disclosed were in a car. When the tire went flat, they decided to go to a nearby tire repair shop. While they were being attended to, a man rode by on a motorcycle and fired several shots at the pair. The criminal fled, and the Mobile Emergency Care Service, also known as SAMU, was called. Paulo died at the scene, while the other man, who was wearing an electronic ankle monitor, a little seed of evil, was taken to a local hospital. The condition of the injured man was not disclosed by the authorities, which seems strange to us. The forensic team was called to the crime scene and collected evidence that may help the investigation. So far, it is not known why or who committed such an act. But what drew attention in this case, and made many viewers write to me, is that the man who claimed to be the devil's own pope ended up this way. It would be reckless of me as a Christian to keep saying, look at what happens, since in a country like Brazil, literally, this can happen to anyone regardless of the religion the person practices. It's a fact that we live in a country with a high number of deaths caused by firearms, knives, and so on. That is, violence. Higher than in many countries in conflict. Brazil is going through a silent conflict that is covered up by the mainstream media, which never makes this connection. So anyone who follows the news, especially regional media, is already used to, at lunchtime, hearing the news about deaths in their own region, one after another. It's a real horror show that even shocks other countries that investigate Brazilian media. After all, they ended up trivializing the subject. The truth is that when we open these newspapers, we're no longer shocked when we see these heinous crimes. Due to how often they happen, we end up getting used to it, and the subject becomes completely trivialized. No one is shocked anymore. So what makes the case of this man, who claimed to be the Pope of the Devil himself, so peculiar and draws so much attention? It's because we know that he threw away salvation through Christ to follow an entity of darkness. which makes many people, in fact, wonder why someone would do that. And the answer is very simple, my brothers. As incredible as it may seem, it brings in a lot of money. When things went south for Vic Vanilla, for example, several people started talking about how much they paid him for simple work. There are people who paid 10, 20, even 50,000 reais per job, and depending on the favors you want from the entities, the price can be even higher. It varies depending on what you want. So these people, whether you believe in spirituality or not, see this as a way to make quick money. Even more so with social media to promote these services, supposedly offering victories. Unfortunately, since the gods of Olympus put an end to criticism, now they can say whatever they want, even about Christianity, and not receive any response worthy of what they're saying or doing. And this encourages a lot of people. They think it's really good to look for this kind of thing. But there are movies, my brothers, that can illustrate very well what I want you to understand right now. Hollywood has turned today's horror movies into real comedies. Nonsensical and ridiculous things just to get a few cheap scares. They mixed in the slasher movies, where you would see, for example, a guy with a machete chasing after the girl or the guy all the time, and the person running away in desperation. They put that kind of movie into spiritual movies and mixed everything together, which turned it into a real mess. The supernatural happens to the natural. It's like you're having a real streak of bad luck, my brother. If something has to go wrong, it just does when your guard is down. And that's the point. Here's a movie from before I was even born, made in 1983, Amityville 3, forget the remakes. Watch the original version. I put a clip of the video here. I'll ask the editor to add a clip for you to see, and I want you to pay close attention to how things happen in an ordinary way. In a way that any investigator, any coroner, when looking for the cause of death, will write it down as an accident. And that's it. There's nothing supernatural about it, but even a small insect that crosses your path at that moment was placed there to lead to that final outcome. I want you to watch this short scene from the movie with me. Do your best, editor. MTV3, my brothers. By today's standards, it might even be considered a boring movie because people don't appreciate a well-developed story anymore. They just want quick scares and little jokes. MTVU3 My Brothers, by today's standards, it might even be considered a boring movie because people don't appreciate a well-developed story anymore. They want quick scares, silly little jokes, and so on. But for those who understand spirituality, this is one of those movies that really scares you because everything happens, my brother, in a natural way. It's the girl who plays an Ouija-style glass game and ends up communicating with an entity that tells her, "You are going to die." She doesn't believe it. Her parents have a vision. They see her coming home completely soaked and ignore it like any normal person would. One fine day, she goes out boating with her friends, ends up falling in and drowns. Well, to the world, that was just a tragedy. But for those who understand spirituality, they know that evil spirits were chasing her and made things happen exactly that way. In that image you saw, we saw the same thing. The woman started to meddle with occult forces and ended up discovering them. She goes out to drive, and a moth starts flying in front of her eyes, distracting her. Suddenly, she comes face to face with a stopped vehicle loaded with iron pipes. She tries to brake, but the brakes fail. That's also something that can happen. After all, the car was old too. It probably wasn't properly maintained. But one thing ended up leading to another. When people find her body, coroners and specialists will say the same thing. It was a simple accident, there's nothing paranormal about it. And when you face reality once again, my brother's Davi's old diary has all of this, including investigations I did, because that's what I realized. When you start looking at a lot of accidents, you start to wonder how those things happen that way. It seems like the world conspired for it to happen exactly like that. And it's not by chance that this happens. That's why Christ told us that our struggle was never against human beings. These forces, my brothers, are around us all the time. And when we abandon spirituality, that is, the armor that God gave us, we move away from Him. We are left at the mercy of their attacks. And these are powerful attacks that are difficult for you to defend yourself against with your own strength alone because they happen naturally and randomly. Suddenly you're at home and you say, wow, I don't know why so many bad things happen to me. I don't know why my path seems to be harder than other people's. And today, my brother, you might be a victim of spiritual forces. When we look at the case of this man, the Pope, the devil, Sao Paulo, you see that forces like these were following him. Because it's very likely that this killer, the person who took his life, was already watching, looking for him. And by bad luck, his car tire goes flat, he has to stop, and the guy ends up getting him. Maybe if that hadn't happened, he would still be alive and well. But the occult forces were already after him, and he didn't know it. On the contrary, he thought those forces were protecting him. And I'll tell you something else. If at that moment things were going wrong for him, if at that moment he was already thinking about seeking God, that's exactly what stirs up anger in those forces. The persecution is doubled. That's exactly why whenever we talk about these things, it's not just sales talk. You, my brother, who are feeling this in your life too, know that many times you didn't even go looking for this. Sometimes a lot of people ask Davi, but I never went after this. I don't even really believe in it. I just feel like things are going really wrong for me. It feels like there are closed doors for me. Sometimes, my brother, a spell was cast over you. You were consecrated to these forces, and you don't even know it. There are many pacts. There are many rituals that they promise. Look, the third son, the fourth son will be your servant, and these entities go after them. And if the person doesn't have their protection, they will destroy that person's life. In our old journal, my brothers, we have articles that teach exactly how to identify this. So I'll leave the link in the description for anyone interested in this kind of topic, for those who believe in this kind of subject only with men. Sorry if you are really interested. If you think you have something like this in your life, the link will be in the description. However, what I find saddest about this whole story is the fact that this man passed away in such a tragic way without having repented of his ways, without having sought the one and true Savior. That is what is most regrettable. However, it also serves as an example. The forces of evil, my brother, will not deliver you from evil. They are evil itself. Stay with God. May He protect each one of you. Thank you for being here. Take care, and always facing the supernatural here on Encara News.